All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight for the 2024 soccer pre-competition webinar. Hope everybody's doing well. This first slide that you guys are all going to see is about a Special Olympics Maryland card donation program that we are currently offering. If you've been on some of our other webinars, you have seen this as well. Uh, Here's a bunch of information about donating a vehicle and where the donations will go. If you do have any questions, please feel free to reach out to Sue Jacobs, our Vice President of Donor Relations. Her email is on the slide if you guys are looking for more information. So again, welcome. My name is Jake Novick. I am the sport lead for Special Olympics Maryland for soccer this year. Joining us tonight is Steve Bennett, the Senior Director of Sports and Competition. He will help run the state competition this year. Not on this call is Jeff Bailey, our head official. Many of you may know him from the qualifiers. And then also not on this call is Mike Sarnowski, our VP of Sports.
And while we go through this, as you saw, the recorded or the webinar is being recorded. If you do have any questions, feel free to use the chat. If we have time at the end, we will open that up for questions, but I will also be monitoring the questions that come in through the chat function. Back to you, Jake.
Great, Steve. Thank you. So we're just going to go, we just did our welcome and a quick introductions. For tonight's agenda, we're going to go through the entries that we currently have for all the teams and skills information, our venue information, some schedule, rule reminders, quick rain plan, and any miscellaneous rules or reminders that we might have. As Steve mentioned, if you do have any questions, please put those into the chat. He will answer those as they come in if possible, or he'll find a good time to interrupt and ask the question to the group. So this year for our events that we're offering, we have 7v7 soccer. We have 11 traditional soccer teams and 4 unified soccer teams. We are also offering an individual skills competition. Right now, we have 40 entrants into our GMS system. I don't have any intentions that number is going to change, just making sure that we have everybody entered as we are going through everything. So some important info before we get started. The final schedule and final divisions will be sent out no later than next Thursday, October 24th. This information will also be posted on the coach's resources page, which is linked on this slide. This gives us some time to go through the divisions during our divisioning night, and then also gives me some time to create and recreate the schedule based off of any revisions that we might have after review from Steve and Mike Sarnowski. As in years past, our competition will be at Crown Sports Center in Fruitland, Maryland. Here is the address for those who don't know where that is. That is across the bridge over down by Salisbury University. Upon arrival, please make sure you go to the control center tent to check in for your team. There will be a lot of important information in the coach's packet, including schedule, lunch order forms, any incident reports that might need to be filled out, anything like that can all be found in that coach's packet in one convenient spot for you all. So here's our tentative soccer schedule at the moment. This information will also be sent out in a follow-up email. So at 7:30 a.m. on Sunday, October 27th, we're going to open our volunteer registration. And then at 8 a.m., our delegation registration will begin. One coach from each team / individual skills competition must be in attendance prior to the arrival of teams arriving in order to meet the competitors. This is also important that we only need one head coach or coach from your team to come to the registration tent to grab all of the necessary information. We will have a coaches meeting and a volunteer orientation outside of our control center tent around 8:45 a.m., followed by our opening ceremony in the awards area. At 10 a.m. is when we are anticipating our competition to begin. This is including our teams, our 7v7 teams, and our individual skills competition. Approximately at around 11 a.m., our lunches will be available. Once those are picked up and sorted and divided up by teams, those will be announced accordingly. Please pay attention for that announcement and only send one coach or unified partner to come pick up those lunches. You may need to have an extra set of hands, but we're looking for the minimum amount of people necessary to come in and out of that tent to grab the lunches that are needed. Right now, our anticipated end of competition is around 4 p.m. This could be earlier, but we're aiming for no later than 4 p.m. at the moment. Here's a quick site map of the soccer field. On the left-hand side of the PowerPoint slide, you could see the building. The fields are actually located behind the building. So on the right-hand side, you'll see this little driveway. Come on down here, find some parking in the back. If the parking is full in the back, please just go back around to the front of the building. There's a giant parking lot up there for everyone as well. As you can see, we are running 4 full-size soccer fields this year for our 7v7 skills competition. These are the same. This is the same layout as in years past. So if you are familiar with that, this is the same thing. Teams, once the schedule is created, will be notified which fields they'll be playing on, and according to this map right here is where they will be playing. Our individual skills competition will be happening in the lower part of this facility. When you're walking in, that's to the right, with our control center and our lunch distribution in the middle. Our awards ceremony and our awards venue is up in the top left of this screen. This gives everybody a great view of the awards and has a great backdrop of individuals playing soccer for any pictures that might be being taken.
And I think also, I think it's on one of the other sides, but that's where the opening ceremony will also take place, if I'm not mistaken, Jake, in the awards area. But for the spectators and those who aren't on the stage, if you will, for the opening ceremony, pretty much you want to gather in that white field area so that you have a good view and can hear everything from the PA system there.
Inside that building that I was just talking about is where our volunteer check-in will be. As of right now, our volunteer check-in is the only thing occurring within this building, but there are facilities and restrooms available for anybody who needs to use those as well indoors. So here's a quick layout. At the top of the screen is the exit to our outdoor field. So our field of competition will be towards the top of your screen. We're going to get into some uniforms and attire reminders just to make sure everybody's on the same page. All players must wear shin guards. This is including the individual skills competition athletes. Players must have shoes that have soft yielding cleats, no metal studs that can be permitted on a grass field. We ask that no metal studs. Individuals will be asked to take those off if we do end up seeing those. That'll ruin the turf. That'll also injure other players that are there. All jewelry must be removed before competition. Medical alert bracelets must be taped to the skin to avoid any potential injury to the athlete or other players. Make sure that the officials know about these ahead of time and make sure that they are taped down appropriately. Inappropriate attire could result in a team forfeiting. This means that there's players out of uniform, people are not wearing the correct cleats, things along that line. Players must be in the proper attire to compete, and jerseys shall not duplicate numbers within the given team. Pants or shorts, no jeans should be of like color among all team members. Any undergarments, such as long sleeve shirts that might be underneath their jersey, should be the same color across all team members. Hats and or headgear may only be worn for medical or religious purposes. That needs to be communicated to myself, to Steve Bennett, and possibly to Melissa Anger, who will be running the competition. This is important information for us to know just in case anything is to happen. All goalkeepers should wear colors that are easily distinguish him or her from the other players and the referee. It's also important to note that these shirts should distinguish you from the opposing team as well. If you can have multiple colors for your goalkeeper just to alternate through, that would be great. If not, we can look to provide pennies for those who are in need of those. Our individual skills players must follow all the same uniform requirements. This is including shin guards. There has been questions of this in the past. So please make sure your athletes are wearing shin guards. All players and coach should arrive with a full water bottle. We will have water for them to refill throughout the day, but please make sure that you guys have your own water bottle and it's full for competition. Just a couple reminders. If the ball goes out of bounds on the sideline, a kick in and or a throw in is acceptable depending on the athlete's preference. There will be two 20-minute halves. This may change based off of weather or any other things that may come up. But as of right now, we are anticipating two 20-minute halves with a 5-minute halftime. This is the same timing situation we ran this past weekend at the required qualifier and have been running for the past few weeks at the Howard County qualifier. So your team should be used to this time limit as well. If needed, there will be one 5-minute overtime period of golden goal. This means if your team scores first in the overtime period, you win. We will not play multiple overtime periods. It will be one 5-minute overtime period. If it is still tied after this, we will go straight into penalty kicks. This change was made at the beginning of the season and noted in the preseason webinar, so teams should have been practicing this throughout the season just in case this is happening. The head referee is aware of this change. The competition director is aware of this change and will implement this if needed.
One thing I'll touch on that. I don't know if we've touched on the actual strategy of coaches, if you will, for that. So typically it would be, 5 players coming out to go for the first round of the penalty kicks. You would have your goalie and in the playing goalie, obviously, and then the opposing team would have their 5 players, and the other team would have 5 players out, rotating back and forth of who's going and scoring or trying to score on a given time. If they're still tied after that first 5 athletes who have a shot at the penalty kick, then we'll go into a second round. So depending on your roster, we'll work with you on that one. But again, that may be something that you want to prepare for, to have at least your first 5 athletes or teammates who you want to have in that lineup to go through the first round of the penalty kicks with 5 attempts on each team.
So just to add on to that, Steve, typically speaking, the players who are on the field at the end of the 5-minute overtime are the first players that are eligible to take the penalty kicks. You should not be bringing individuals off the bench to just take penalty kicks. They can come off the bench for the extra rounds if they are still tied after the first 5. Just a couple rule reminders. At the start of the game, the ball must be kicked in any direction from the center spot before it be touched by another player. There's absolutely no slide tackling permitted at any level in Special Olympics. Along with that, individuals are not allowed to head the ball at any level for any reason. There are no team timeouts, and the official game time is kept by the referee, not the scorer's table. The scorer's table may be keeping time, but they are not required to keep the official time. They may have a good estimate of how much time is remaining in the game, but the officials, if you are looking for an exact time, ask the officials when they have a second to respond to you. Goalies may not punt or drop kick the ball after making a save. The goalies must throw the ball out of the goal box, and it must touch the ground or another player before past midfield. If it goes across midfield in the air, the other team will be awarded an indirect free kick at the midfield line where the ball crossed. Just a couple reminders for coaches and volunteers. Only those who are on the team rosters and that are credentialed to be there will be permitted on the benches and on the sidelines. All others, including spectators and families, are permitted on the opposite sideline of the benches. Referring back to the previous map, that will be in between the white field and the yellow field, and then in between the green field and the red field. For the individual skills competition, only coaches and athletes participating in skills are permitted inside the red tape line. Coaches are not permitted at the stations, but are able to be closer than all families and spectators. Once an athlete goes to perform the station, this is a reminder that no coaching is permitted. After one warning, the coach will be asked to leave the skills area if they continue to coach the athlete. For our individual skills competition, we will do one preliminary round before we go into our division rounds. This preliminary round will help us division athletes according to their skill level. This makes an equitable and fair competition for all. Although we are going to create groups for these athletes to participate in the skills, this may not reflect what their final division may be. We are not sure how we're going to currently do the preliminary round for division, like the divisions of the preliminary round. Steve and I will discuss that. Right now, one of the options is to do it by county, also to do it by similar age, just trying to figure out what the best options are for that. After the preliminary round, we'll have a 30 to 45-minute break. Then this is when our redivisioning will take place. These divisions will be announced before the start of the final round. In the final round, individuals will compete in 2 rounds at each station to combine their score for an overall score. Awards will take place in the awards area after the final round scores have been calculated. Please give us some time to calculate those scores based off of time that it takes the individual to complete the skill stations.
Yeah, I think similar to team competition as well. Once your result is known, you can report to the awards area and the staging group. Similarly with individual skills, they'll be there for the final rounds. Then they'll be escorted once those are calculated and figured out over to the awards area in a group. What we don't want to have is, hey, okay, everybody, you've got a 10-minute break, go ahead, and then we lose people and we have to look or relocate all the athletes in a given division and regroup them once we get over to awards. So we really want everybody to stay in that general area after individual skills. The final rounds have both been completed to then walk over together as divisions over to the awards area.
So I received lunch orders from everybody, so that's great news. Lunches will be provided by Jersey Mike's again this year. One, like as I mentioned earlier, one coach and or a helper will come pick up the box of their team's lunches once they're ready, approximately at around 11 a.m. Lunches should be separated by team, and the numbers will be based off of the lunch order forms that were submitted to me. All lunches will come with either a sandwich or a salad, a bag of chips, a cookie, and a bottle of water. For the weather, we are monitoring the weather currently as it gets closer, just keeping a close eye on anything that may be happening. Should inclement weather occur on the day of the competition, play may be delayed until the weather brings more favorable competition conditions. We will play in a light rain. If anything more than that, or any thunderstorms or anything like that, we will make an announcement at the discretion of the competition director with input from Steve Bennett and from Mike Sarnowski. Competition may be canceled due to weather as we are not able to move indoors at this facility. For those outdoors, if communicated to find shelter, please report to the facility inside or to your personal vehicles. Special Olympics Maryland will, as always, monitor the weather leading up to the event and communicate with any information relating to updates due to the weather. Please be prepared for all weather conditions. As we know, it is Maryland in the fall. We could be extremely hot weather. We could be cold and rainy. So please be ready for all weather conditions. The coach's code of conduct, just a reminder for everybody. I'm not going to read all of these, but you guys can read through these as well. Just remember that there's no alcohol, tobacco / vapor use or drug use during this event. There is no profanity allowed, and please respect the officials. These are volunteers that are out here volunteering their time to create a great competition for everybody. And we would love for them to continue to come back. So please respect them, respect the calls that they're making. And if there are any issues, please handle those off the field with the competition director. Before we get into any questions, I do have a few reminders for everybody. At Crown Sports Complex, they do not allow any type of animals on the playing surface or on the fields except service animals only. This includes no emotional support animals, no small dogs, anything like that. So please respect our facility guidelines as we move forward working with them and hope to continue working with them in the future. One other thing to note is the unified ratios for the unified teams that will be participating at this competition. Although it's only 4 teams, this may just be good general information to everybody. Please remember to retain the ratio of athletes to partners on the field at all times. One of the key things to remember is you should always have more athletes than partners, but that does not mean you can have only athletes on the field. As a unified team, the ratio should be 4 athletes to 3 partners. If you need to drop down to 3 athletes, you can only still have 3 partners on the field. Please keep this in mind when you're making your substitutions, substitute athlete for athlete, partner for partner. And it's also important to note partners can play any position on the field, including goalie. They are not limited to only being the field players. Um, so again, I know this was a quick webinar with a lot of information. So if you do have any questions, this is a great time to ask those for the group. Again, thank you all for what you guys have done this season. Thanks to the athletes, the teammates, the coaches, the volunteers. We couldn't do this without you guys. You guys have made this a great first season for me as a sports director, and I've truly enjoyed working with all of you. Again, thank you. And any questions at this time we will take, but I'm going to stop the recording now, and this information will be sent out tomorrow in a follow-up email.
Yep. Thank you, Jake.